It is a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today we're going to be covering the newest season of the Alliance mode, and we are jumping into Wave 36 so that you guys don't have to sit through the previous waves and watch as this team unfolds into the waves, as most of you either have gone through some of it or know at least a majority of it and don't need to see it time and time again. So the team that we're using specifically here is Brute, Purple Yam, Werewolf, Unicorn, and the BTS cookie. We are using speed toppings, so caramel toppings on Brute and Werewolf. We want their animations, their stuns, their attack power to just exert as fast as possible, as well as getting as much points as possible too. With Purple Yam, we have damage resistance toppings on because Purple Yam can self heal. So we just want survivability to make sure that when the magic candy is activating, that the most amount of defense is on Purple Yam and that the healing can happen. That way, our healing from Unicorn and the BTS can be focused on Werewolf and Brute, since they are at the front line of the pack. So, Werewolf with the new magic candy is dealing relative damage to injury, mostly super effective against really big bosses, but also really good against waves too. Really depends on the positioning. If the enemies or the bosses are very poised in different positions, they're very spread out, it makes it a little bit more tough to run it. But as you can see, once we start getting past to the wave 40, the team does start taking a decent amount of damage and becomes a little bit tough in these later points. So what we do is at about wave 47, we run the summoner team, and that's because we have a lot of bodies to counteract the oncoming troubles and some of the tough waves that we do run into. And then we do go back to the first team in the high 50s because we'll go cycle through a few different teams. But as you can see, this team is holding out pretty well against what we're facing against. I will show toppings after the match is done. I just wanted to give you the breakdown and the rundown of what's going on in these battles and how the teams are handling against the waves. You may be able to get to wave 60 if you do position and time it correctly, but most of it's just going to take proper timing, good toppings, and good overall team synchrony. And so when you get to wave 52, that's your first brute wave. There will be another brute wave at wave 60 itself. And as you can see, Werewolf is definitely hanging on just barely, but has taken a very big chunk of damage because of the waves itself. So once you get to these higher points and your team does start to dwindle down, if you want to keep that point bonus going, you're going to want to switch to the one-shot teams and the T-Night teams and try to push as forward as you can go, because as you can see in wave 53, you've got the enemy Werewolf, which is going to deal quite a lot of damage to your entire force, and you're going to want to have that insignia to help push it through, heal the cookies, and just keep the team going, because that's what you're going to run into, is a lot of issues with that. The main thing is the speed team, the first team. It can pretty easily handle the first 40 waves for you if you set it up correctly, but it does take a lot of overall power and team capability. If you don't have enough strength, or you don't have high enough labs or high enough guild boss perks or toppings or cookie levels, honestly I recommend probably substituting out Purple Yam for another healer, or if you don't have Schwartz high enough, then probably doing Schwartz out for another healer as well. So 3 healers is not a bad option to run it in this team lineup if you do not have a high enough stacked team between these 5 cookies. So as you can see, like I said before, the caramel toppings are being run on Brute and Werewolf Cookie. Their animations, their stuns, their speed works really well. If you can get higher damage resistance than I have here, obviously sometimes it's pretty hard accruing good damage resistance toppings, especially if they're new toppings that you've not worked with before. So as you can see, 14%, 10% here. We've got a lot of focus in the attack speed. We don't have a lot going on in the damage resistance, and some substats kind of all over the place in other areas, but it's just proof to show you that it works, but it can definitely be improved upon. with Purple Yam running 37% damage resistance. Preferably, if you can get to the maximum, you're going to be in a pretty good spot for Yam. But there are other ways to run it too. You can run peanut toppings, or you can run attack toppings, whichever is your best setup that you have for Purple Yam, because both are going to be pretty good. Because the Magic Candy does a lot of self-survival for Purple Yam, as long as the rest of the topping substats are pretty substantial. Unicorn, if you can, honestly, try to get attack speed on Unicorn. Get those animations going faster so that you get faster critical heals from Unicorn. It's definitely a good way to go. Works on healers almost all the time. Same for the BTS cookie. Obviously, I couldn't accrue that while getting high cooldowns for both of these cookies, but if you can, get that attack speed built up on these two as well. Especially because, remember, when you're going through Alliance, you are getting points based on how fast you clear waves and how far you go without a team dying. If you have attack speed on these main cookies, this team is definitely built in a mindset of speed. You will push further, you will push faster, you will gain more points. And that's just the way that will work for you. The other teams I could show you the toppings for, but most of them are really going to be the generic ones that you would expect them to have, and they are not going to be as influential unless you're going for a wave 60 clear. And if you are, I can definitely cover that in the comments, and I'd love to hear your feedback. But the first team, the main team, is going to definitely be your heaviest carry when it comes to getting through this Alliance season, especially because the special rules are giving charge cookies 10% HP, which means that we are getting HP bonuses to Brute, Werewolf, and Purple Yam, and that's why it just shreds through a little bit better than some of the other teams can. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.